Hi guys, welcome back to At Home with Elisa. If you have been following me for a little while, you might know that we have had some flooding issues here at our property. As we're on the sort of the downside of a bit of a hill, our neighbours just behind this fence line that you can see here, they're obviously slightly higher than us, and we have water runoff come from their property. So just in front of that fence, you can see all those rocks there. We had a little ditch dug. However, with the significant weather events that we've been having, the ditch is definitely not adequate enough. So we need to have it dug a little bit deeper. When we first moved here, we met a lovely person by the name of Jason, who owns Dig Me Excavations, and he was so lovely. He helped us level out our swimming pool. He helped us to expand our tiny homes, and also just do some basic drainage work here. Obviously no one was expecting the weather that we have had here, so we actually haven't seen him in a year, but he's coming tomorrow morning, very early tomorrow morning, to work on this ditch here for us. So as I was saying, the ditch actually runs along the fence line between us and the neighbour's property. It overflows just here. You can see it's actually filled up with sand, but it runs all the way down. I'll just scroll slowly so that I don't make you a bit dizzy. And it goes down to our halfway point. Now, at our halfway point, we actually have a creek that goes across our property, and the ditch runs into that creek. When we first moved here, we thought that this ditch would be significant enough to be able to stop all the runoff from next door's property. However, it definitely is, and I've got footage. I'll see if I can attach it. I've got footage of it just overflowing. Now, obviously, we won't have that sort of rainfall all the time. However, when we do, it actually floods further down. So it floods down to our chicken coop and also our orchard as well, and the garden. So any work that we sort of do to the property here is kind of ruined by the excessive amounts of water that come through. So I'm hoping that Jason will be able to come tomorrow, and we're looking at doing the ditch maybe double the size that it currently is. We made the mistake of filling it with some beautiful sandstone rocks, which you can see behind me. Though they look pretty, they actually took up a lot of the volume of the ditch, which in hindsight wasn't the best idea. We thought we'd make it try and look nice, but it's also functionality wise, it just doesn't work. So we need to make sure that we have enough volume for the water to be able to flow. It does flow from the front of the property towards the back of the property, which is fantastic, and it flows right into the creek where we want it to go. So that's a good thing. That's on our side. But what we're trying to do is to actually stop all that overflow from getting onto the rest of the property. If we can stop it on the high side of the property, which this is the high side, you can see there's a gentle slope behind me. If we stop it on the high side, it'll actually stop it spreading across the land and getting to that flash flooding point, which obviously is not ideal. You don't want flash flooding. It's quite upsetting to watch, and I know that this weather is definitely on the extreme, but if we can try and stop that flash flooding that causes damage, we're not sure if we're going to get another third round of La Nina. They're expecting that it might actually happen this spring. So we just want to make sure that we're prepared, and that any work that we do down for the chickens and for the garden isn't basically ruined if we get another flood event. Previously on one of those flood events, we actually come very close to losing our chickens. So it's definitely something that we need to make sure that, if I wasn't home, it could have been quite bad for them. So I'm very excited. The property has finally dried out, which means that we can get Jason here. We have had some plans previously, however, just the weather has not allowed us to be able to get through. Just this area here gets a little bit wet. The water tends to come down that way, so we haven't been able to get him here because we wouldn't be able to have the excavator get in. So now that it has dried out just a little bit, I shouldn't say that too loud because it'll rain tonight, but he's coming tomorrow, and hopefully we can dig that trench all the way down to, as I said, the halfway point of our property, and then I'll show you what we're looking at doing down there. So this is the halfway point of our property. Up there you can see the playground, and that's where all that ditch comes through to. Comes through to this little section here where it joins up with a drain that comes from next door. That used to be a creek, but they made some changes just to allow road access down to the rest of their block. And this creek area here, we had actually dug out this section just here. So we dug it out quite big. It actually was the size of probably like a small Mini Cooper. and it was quite deep in order to try and slow some of the water rushing across the property. So we were sort of slowing it in this section here before it travelled through, and it goes across a little ditch here and over into our dam, which is just over there. So we were trying to sort of slow the speed of the water so that it doesn't cause as much damage further down. So we were trying to slow it down so that then it didn't break the banks, because it's breaking the banks further down the property, which then means that if it overflows, that it's pushing big boulders like the size of my head size boulders across grassland. That's how forceful that water was, and it was going into our dam, which isn't a problem. That's where we want it to get, but not to go across the grass in the middle. It does have a creek that it can go, but we didn't want it breaking its banks, because when it breaks its banks, it basically means that the ground takes so long to dry that we weren't able to mow it and we were able to maintain it. So as you can see, I'm a little bit further down. This is the gully that goes all the way across the land, and it goes over there into our dam, and then it overflows on the other side of the dam, and it goes down into a creek. Now, because we haven't been able to access the other side of this ditch here, we can't get a mower across it. We have a little bit of trouble getting a buggy across it, which is quite entertaining, but trying to get the mower across is quite hard, and we really don't want it to be reclaimed. We really want to keep the grass sort of semi-reasonable sort of looking state like this side here. Now, when we did have our flooding events, this land that I'm actually standing on here was actually flooding. So all of this grass area here was underwater all the way up to these poles just here. So all this area just here was all wet as the water was making its way through. So we do have a pipe, and if he's got time tomorrow, it's a big concrete pipe that we're looking at putting in just here, and that will allow us to then ride the mower and also the buggy onto the other side of that ditch there, which will mean that we'll be able to maintain the land over there, which will be very, very nice. He's very excited to have Jason here tomorrow morning. I can't wait to get some of this flood remediation work started. It's been quite the ordeal having everything happen, and I'm so glad that it's just a little bit drier now so that we'll be able to get some stuff done. We do plan on landscaping down the back here, however it will always be of more of a natural state. The area just behind me here is probably the bushiest area on our block, and I do know that there's some invasive weeds there that I need to get in and get to. However, this rest of the property here will always kind of remain quite open. I think it's stunning. I love watching. I've seen echidnas cross the very back. They cross from one side to the other over to the dam, and I've seen that, and it's beautiful. So yes, very happy to have Jason here tomorrow, and hopefully this really, really helps with our flooding. As I said, if we don't have any more flooding, it will be absolutely wonderful, and if we do, hopefully that means that we're a little bit more prepared. We do have some other works that we're going to be doing as well, so I'll take you along when we actually do those, but let's just start with the first one. So as you can see, it's the next day. We've just got Jason here, and he's just starting to do that widening of that berm for us. As you can see, he's quite particular, which we really love, and he does such a great job. So looking forward to having this widened and hopefully no more flooding issues. guys, so it's a little bit later in the afternoon. Jason's not long left, and as you can see, he has done a lovely ditch for us. Nice and deep. This side on here is lower than this side here, so water coming down the hill will get stuck here, and we hopefully can plant out this berm with a nice hedge. That's the plan. And just down the back here, so we're roughly at the halfway point, that was where it was lovely and deep, and once again it is lovely and deep again. I'm standing roughly here. There's about a metre high berm, which is fantastic, and you can see he's actually removed that tree that had fallen over. He removed that for us, and also the ditch is lovely and deep, so that's probably about a metre and a half wide, and it's very deep. So hopefully tomorrow we're supposed to get a lot more rain. They're predicting between 10 to 40 millimetres of rain, so hopefully it should hold up for tomorrow. I can't wait to see it. Is that weird? I'm going to come out in the rain tomorrow and have a look and see how this is all travelling, because it should come washing through here, but not too bad. It shouldn't break banks. So that's where I just was, and I followed the gully down. As you can see, it's still quite deep here, and then we have a lovely big concrete pipe, and that continues onto the dam there. But this pipe is fantastic because it will allow us access to roughly the last acre of our property, which realistically has been kind of reclaimed a little bit by the bush. We haven't been able to get any things over here to actually be able to do any mowing. It's still a little bit too wet at the moment to mow. It looks very dry, the grass looks dry, but when you actually walk on it, you can hear it you can hear your footsteps. So hopefully it dries out enough and we'll be able to mow this without it being reclaimed. So if anyone on the Central Coast is looking for a fantastic excavator with a great sense of humour, I will include his details here so that you can have a look at them and give him a call if you need any work done. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching today. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing, and I hope you have a lovely day.